Hey guys, it's Emily, and I am back with another speed build. This one is actually a shell challenge, as you can see, created by Claire Witchbaby. I've become a big fan of hers on Twitch and have been watching her a lot, and she had this shell challenge that's quite difficult, as you can see. It's really oddly shaped. And so I was trying to figure out how I was going to make this into a house. And was, as I normally do, looking at inspiration photos, and I found one that I liked that had some really interesting shapes to it, and so I'm trying to kind of bring those elements into this shell challenge, and I will link put the link below so you can check out the real life house plan. It's really a cool house plan. And obviously this, because of all the weird shapes, doesn't look anything like it, but you should be able to see kind of the inspiration that I drew from it. Now, shell challenges have certain rules, and one of them is you can't add additional walls, typically. So I may have taken a little bit of artistic license, adding those kind of half walls on the top. Sometimes you can add half walls, sometimes you can't. In my mind, they're part of the roof structure, so what I wanted, as you saw me place those roofs, is I wanted them to be a little bit higher than normally we would be able to place them, and so that's why I added that half wall. Now, as you can see, the upper one has like some strange funky gaps that unfortunately I couldn't figure a way to eliminate those, and so I kind of had to end up doing a workaround, but it was the above bit that has those 3 windows that I was really going for. And likewise, sometimes you're allowed to create a basement on shell challenges, sometimes you're not. I guess she didn't specify that, and so I ended up not creating a basement per se, except for this exterior part, so there's no like inside basement, just this area for landscaping. And so I think as a bachelor's pad, what can I put down there? And I ended up putting a rocket ship and some recycling area, because I figured what bachelor doesn't want a rocket ship as like the ultimate toy. So you won't see that, but that's what's down there. And as I was figuring out the colors that I wanted to use and the kind of style of windows, it really reminded me of a creation I did called the Athlete's Estate. That is on my gallery, but it was before I was doing speed builds. And I went into that build to take a look at it to get some inspiration, because this kind of really reminded me of that. And I decided to use some of the rooms, at least partially some of the rooms, in this build, because I thought it fit so well. And so you'll see sometimes rooms just suddenly appear and then I'm rearranging them, and that's because I imported them from that build that I did previously. I do use the tool mod quite a bit. You can see that pillar is highlighted in green. That's the tool mod. You don't need it in your game to have things placed correctly. That's just strictly a builder's tool. As long as you have move objects on, they will place where I have placed them if you use a slot in your game. I wanted those pillars to be centered in that that half wall, because you see that a lot in architecture, but in the game as it stands without mods, they always snap to the corners, and so I had to use the tool mod to get this particular look. Again, I end up using a lot of roofs in different ways and different levels to kind of try and break this up and make it really architecturally interesting. You know, on those couple areas I end up using flat roof, and on that strange triangle room I ended up just treating it like a covered porch area, as you'll see here, and a spa room actually ends up going in there, but right now I'm just kind of treating it as if it's a square room. Here again you'll see I'm using the scale option with tool. Those shelves I wanted to use to kind of bring in that color and highlight each of the windows, and the in-game sizes, either big or one smaller, weren't the right size, and so I ended up scaling them so that the ratio looks correct. Since I had a round shape on the front, I wanted to repeat it in the back, and so that's why we have this round deck shape. And then here I'm sliding over that roof to create, the covered porch. And I use this slide technique in pretty much all of my builds now. It's really hard for me to not use it and to just place roofs, in the standard way that we can in game. So I love this little trick, but I did run into a couple instances, like I said, where that roof, as you can see right there, has gaps in it. And I haven't really found a good solution for how to fix that. Like here you can see that wall is pushing up and down, and you kind of just got to work with it. And I know it's the roof causing it, because if I pulled the roof away, it would show correctly, but in this particular build, there were a lot of intersecting roofs, and so it was creating that issue in several areas where the half walls end up missing or getting displaced. I'm trying to get this window to appear. Right now it's not showing, and I do get it in the end so that it looks correctly. I think I had to use the tool mod to, I did, to lower it down to the correct height. But again, it's that the roofs are intersecting somehow. Here I just sized up a door and put it in the basement, and then rotated those shelves to look like handles, and then I just deleted the room downstairs. And as long as I didn't delete it, but I slide it over and then delete it, it keeps the door in place. So yeah, I use a lot of building tricks that I have seen when I watch other speed builders do their builds. And here I'm creating another porch area. I figured if this is a bachelor pad, he's going to have a swimming pool area, and so that's kind of what I was going for over here, just to kind of have a little private area that is kind of away from kind of prying eyes, and it's a little protected with that wall there. And I saw somebody do this on Facebook, I don't remember who, but they had used some sort of object, this one or not, I can't recall, but to make the stairs nice and even and real modern looking, because normally you see you have that gap there, and with the tool mod you can actually kind of fill these in a way. And so in the end, I had to fiddle with it a whole bunch to try and get it exactly the way I wanted it and lined up in the way that I wanted, but I think it looks really slick in the end. I end up making that area all black, and that works. Like there's a lot of little black touches around the house, and I think once it's once you have the pool in there and you're seeing that blue, it's not like an overwhelming amount of black, which is why I wanted to do white initially. I thought that was more appropriate for a pool, but I was able to use this black and break it up a little bit with the pool and the chairs and everything that end up being out there. This here is a post. I think it came with seasons. That again, I just rotated with the tool mod and raised it up, and it just makes this cool architectural feature from the Inspiration house that, it looks almost exactly like the Inspiration house, so definitely check that out. It's a real cool looking house plan. There, it's a really odd shaped garage, but I wanted to use that space somehow, and I ended up just deleting the floor, so it's actually down a level. And you'll see I do the same thing with like the game room. It's like a sunken area, and I use that to kind of break up the spaces, just because this is almost a completely open floor plan. It's a really large space, and to have some visual and architectural interest and some separation of like different areas, I wanted to have those different floor heights. So here you see the kitchen just kind of magically appeared, and I was trying to work with the wall to get it to be so you could have like a little eating nook over there, but it was still like connected to the kitchen. And same with the dining room. I just kind of brought that in, and I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to place things. Here's the entertainment area. Again, I'm just kind of trying to fit these into a floor plan that I'm kind of making it up as I go, but I knew what things I wanted near what. So I'm obviously going to have the dining room near the kitchen. Here is a stove. I can't remember exactly who I saw this, but this was another speed build trick that I saw on somebody's YouTube. And yeah, it's a fireplace trick that you use upsize a couple of the mirrors. I can't remember what pack they're from. And then you end up surrounding it with the stove pipe that goes about like the stove vents to kind of fill it in. And you know, with these modern builds, I think that type of stove really works, and it actually is functional. Your sim can reach in there and light the fireplaces that I've shrunken down, and you know, access all the features that a normal fireplace would have. Here you'll see I'm using that tool mod when those things are highlighted green, and then I'm able to just kind of slide it exactly into the place that I want it to. I cannot say enough good things about that mod. If you're using mods in your game and you are a builder and you know, want to have some more creativity, you know, access to creativity, then definitely the tool mod is kind of the essential as far as I'm concerned. It was the first mod I installed in my game, and it was the only one I had for quite a while until I added the red shelf for decorating. It's where you're able to get things to sit off of. Again, the tool mod could actually do that for you, but where you can get things to sit off of the surface and decorate a lot of clutter with that red shelf. Here I wanted to include a planter. The last speed build I did was actually of my childhood home, and so I had just completed that, and this planter was in my mind. That it's my mom had designed the home I grew up in, and my mom and dad built it, and she had included this like a built-in planter with like a half wall that was next to the stairs, and so I thought that would be perfect for this build. You'll see here I tried this grass. I thought, well, grass would be really low maintenance for, you know, a bachelor who didn't want to have to deal with plants, but it didn't really achieve the kind of look that I wanted, the dramatic, like this is a cool planter thing here. And so I ended up sticking with these 5 plants. And again, with that tool mod, I am able to raise them up and down, you know, to the height that I want to, and so it really is, I'm really able to create the look that I just want without having those planters showing. So it's really nice and uniform. And again, you do not need the tool mod in your game in order to install this. This is just the tool mod. It's strictly for builders to place things alternatively. However, if you were to move one of the items, you wouldn't be able to get it back. So that's the only downside if you don't have the tool mod installed. Or you can just replace the house entirely. So here you see I'm removing the flooring here because we're going to have this sunken area. Initially I was thinking that room up above would be like the game area, but then I really like the idea of having the ping pong table that we got with Discovery University, as well as foosball and card game and stuff like that. So I needed a little bit more room, and then I thought, well, we can have like a bar area because definitely a bachelor pad is going to have like this big, awesome bar, I would think, at least in my mind. And so that's what I ended up doing up above. And, you know, I really am pleased with the way this turned out. It was kind of a real like creative challenge for me because the shell is such an odd shape, and some of those shapes, like the garage, obviously you would never ever have a garage that shape, so I kind of just made it work. But we ended up putting the laundry in there as well, and you know, I did play test it, so you know, everything is, your Sims are able to access everything, and you know, I don't always get a chance to play test it, or I don't always remember is actually more accurate. So, you know, I played in this with my sim for a little while just to make sure that everything was working well and placed well and nothing was blocking it. So, you know, definitely, I can't even remember how much it costs, but I'm sure it's quite a bit. I usually don't like to put those restrictions on myself when I build. I also have all the packs, and I don't use pack restrictions generally. I know some of you have requested that I do some builds that don't use as many packs, or maybe, yeah, limited packs or base game, which I've been thinking about quite a bit. I definitely will get to it at some point, but since I've been in such a creative lull, I didn't want to limit myself, basically, because I'm already struggling. And so definitely with a shell challenge, I didn't want to add that additional restriction just because this is a really non-traditional shape already. And so to kind of make it work creatively, I didn't want to have that limitation. But I'm definitely keeping it in mind and definitely plan to do it at some point for y'all. The office is behind the bedroom there. You can see it's green. I think I do ultimately end up making it blue. And again, here on the bottom, you're seeing a little bit of the recording studio. So there is an office, there is a recording studio. I do put in a gym. Initially, I was thinking like a movie room or like a theater room. And so I initially put in a theater room behind where the fireplace is going here. But then I thought, nope, if it's a bachelor pad, he's definitely going to have a gym. And I did build a $1 million mansion, or a million simoleon mansion, a couple of speed builds ago, and I included a really kind of extravagant gym that had like some free weights and some other gym equipment that I had made using the tool mod. And so I took some of that equipment out of that build and brought it on over into this build. And in the end, you'll see, as I do the cinematic walkthrough, you'll be able to see the gym and those objects in place. They're obviously not functional. They're kind of just for looks. Actually, the only piece of equipment in the gym that's functional is the treadmill. And the rest is just for looks, even though it's such a big room. But, you could take it out and replace it with more functional pieces if you wanted to. Again, this was about creativity for me. I really like using things in alternative ways and making new objects. And again, that tool mod really allows me to do that. Same with rugs. I think you probably saw below that I was sizing up and down the rugs using the tool mod. It's a scale. It's called the scale feature, where you can scale things to whatever size you want. And that has been a lifesaver, because so often there's a rug that I want to use that is either too big, and then I shrink it down, and then it's too small. And so with that particular feature, you can make it an in-between. So I use that a lot on the rugs. So there are 3 bathrooms. There's the one below. There's this one, which is kind of just your guest bathroom. Basically, anybody who's visiting the recording studio, or maybe is at the gym with the bachelor here. And then we have the master bathroom that's right off the master bedroom. So again, this is just the guest bathroom. And then it is only one bedroom. I don't particularly think that's an issue because it is a bachelor pad. And so, I imagine he's having, just parties there, and it's really only him who needs to sleep there. And any of his buddies or any party goers can crash on the couch or, hang out on the lounge outside. The shell challenge was actually set on a certain size lot. So you'll see that I'm building it in Del Sol Valley. And when I do the cinematic walkthrough, it's actually, I have it placed in Oasis Springs because based on the inspiration photo, I felt like it sat in the desert a little better, like it's more well suited to sit in the desert. And so that's why I've done that for the cinematic views of that. This bathroom gave me a lot of trouble. I wanted to have a shower. I wanted to have a full bath. I wanted to have 2 toilets. In my mind, one was a bidet and one was a traditional toilet. And so I really wanted to have this like luxurious, spacious bathroom. But getting the layout was really tricky for me. You see, I'm trying a whole bunch of different things here. In the end, I get it. I don't love the solution. Like, it has a cabinet next to the shower, which, you know, I mean, it's okay. But it wasn't as creative a solution as I would have liked. I was trying to do a built-in shower, but the walls were too high when I added the spandrels, and in hindsight, I could have used the tool mod and raised some up and created my own kind of surround at the height that I chose rather than the way that it's automatically adding it. But, you know, maybe that's for next time. Here I'm doing the pool. I really wanted to add like a swim up bar or something like that, or have the hot tub kind of sitting like feel like it's sitting in the pool, but I just don't think this space has enough room. And so I ended up kind of enclosing that hot tub with some of the kind of screen-like items in Eco Lifestyle. And I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. The pool is exposed to the elements basically, but it's again kind of enclosed with that wall. And then the hot tub is not completely closed off, but it is again screened as well from anybody in the pool, just for a little bit more privacy. Here you'll see I'm doing the grill on the exterior deck. This was just kind of a place I wanted to hang out and, you know, have grilling and drinks and just kind of a hangout area. And the inspiration for this bar is actually from one of EA's builds that I really love. I can't remember what it's called, but it's from the Perfect Patio pack. I think it was featured in the trailer, and I really just love the layout of that bar. It was an outdoor bar, and so I use that whenever I can. Again, this landscaping, the inspiration was from the real life photo that I used. It was placed in like a desert, rocky area, and in the image, it's actually on a hill, and so it's kind of rocks on a hill with plantings in between. And so it's kind of a, like I said, inspired by. It's not an exact copy by any means, but I liked having these rounded shapes for the train because there's a couple round shapes in the build, and then that just repeats them. And I've really become a fan of using debug plants. They have a lot of different interesting textures and colors, and I feel like the ones that we can get from Build By without using the debugs one are largely similarly colored, and so I want to have a lot of variation in texture and color that comes from the debug options that we have. And so this is my creation for the Claire Witch Baby Shell Challenge. Again, maybe I took some liberties that aren't allowed, but I think I tried to stay true to it and had a lot of fun with the creativity. You know, I really am actually very proud of this build. Even though it's an odd looking little house, you know, I think it's one that I'm actually really proud of, and, you know, proud to put out on the internets and show off, you know, what I've done. And with that, I hope you guys are staying safe, having a great day, and thanks so much for watching.